Could the Philadelphia Eagles shore up the back end of their defense by pairing a certain player with one of their old coaches? We'll talk about all that and more right here coming up. What is up, everybody? RB here. Welcome into A to Z Philly. You know the drill, man. Drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Don't miss any of our off-season coverage. We have a lot coming up. I want to start off with our question of the day. Do you think Jason Kelce is going to retire? Real quick, I saw this little bit from a few days ago. Obviously, a slow news cycle right now, but Jordan Mailata was talking about Jason Kelce, and he said, quote, there was no shot that Jason Kelce plays football next year because he's having too much fun. He said, you're telling me he's going shirts off in the games, gambling in casinos. He's coming back. No way. He's having too much fun. He's out there living his life, and I'm going to miss him for sure, man. This has been the greatest 6 years of my life for sure, being here in the NFL and getting to meet people like Jason Kelce. So obviously Kelce has not really shared that with any of his teammates or coaches or whatever. He's kind of just going through the process, and I saw a little clip maybe a day or two, I think it was, where he was on Shaq's podcast talking about weighing retirement and, you know, what that process is like and going through it. So I still don't believe he's made a decision yet. There's been a lot on both sides, but do you think he's going to retire? I will say, man, after being there in person and watching that red confetti come down again on his brother, I'm sure maybe that motivates him a little bit. Hey, maybe I want to go and try once more to go get me another trophy. So we'll see how it goes, man. Give me your thoughts. And really why we're here is, you know, part of that. How do the Eagles get better? How do they go back? And we're going to talk about one player that I think could be a perfect fit. And before we do that, let me give a shout out to our sponsor of today's video, BetMGM. Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up with the code ATOZPA and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to parlay selection features, live betting options, player props, and daily boosted odds specials. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. So find out why BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks. Sign up today with the bonus code ATOZPA and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. All right, let's talk about this certain someone. He was released a couple days ago by the team he's been with long term. Now his former team, the Chicago Bears. They release Eddie Jackson. They also release guard Cody Whitehair. And according to Adam Schefter, as he says here, these were just strictly cap moves. They saved 21.5 against the cap. And we know the Bears are trying to rebuild because they're just not a good team. So they had to cut some loose ends and make some of these deals happen, right? So they're trying to go younger, get more players in. And that leaves some guys out on the market. We could even talk about Cody Whitehair, but we'll talk about Eddie Jackson because he makes absolutely perfect sense for the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me ask you this. What position or what group do you think the Eagles need to really target this offseason? They have some draft picks to play with. Obviously, they're going to have to get a little creative when it comes to the cap, maybe cut some guys, move some contracts. But in my opinion, the secondary has to be shored up, right? We could talk about linebacker, and we'll talk about that more as we go on. We've already hit on that, but the secondary, right? Like James Bradbury, Darius Slay, and really your safety position did not give you a lot at the tail end of the season, and it needs to be addressed. Maybe they go young, but as of right now, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a deep secondary class, and that's where Eddie Jackson comes in. Elliot Shore Parks here on Twitter says that Eddie Jackson has a position of need. He knows Vic Fangio, and he raises the floor of the safety group. Now, obviously, mid-season, you go out, you make a move for Kevin Byard, who's got another year on his deal, didn't live up to the hype, looked terrible in certain situations, made certain comments, and, you know, almost in a way brought the team down in some aspects. But do I think he has more to offer? Absolutely. Will he be a body in there vying for a spot? Absolutely, he'll be competing. But on top of that, you have Reed Blankenship, who the year before last looked really stellar. Last year had his ups and downs. Is he a sure safety? Is he a starter? Who knows, right? The guy really came from nothing, and, you know, he has something to offer, but will it be consistent? That's a whole other question. Eddie Jackson, like ESP says here, has the experience. And just before we look at this article, here is a free agent tracker for all of the safeties in this year's free agency, okay? Budda Baker has a club option. Eddie Jackson's right here, number 2. Boom, released. He is right at the top of the list. Micah Hyde getting up there in age. I think he's 33 years old. Do the Eagles want to try to get C.J. Gardner-Johnson back? He's probably going to get a big payday, and I don't think he wants to come back after the bad blood. Jordan Whitehead, Chuck Clark, a couple of these guys on here, just bodies in my opinion. But right now, like I said, there's not a lot to go through, and if they don't want to draft that position, Eddie Jackson might be the answer. Let's talk about why. Here on this article on Bleeding Green Nation, Brendan Lee Gouton breaks it down perfectly. He says, should the Eagles reunite Eddie Jackson with Vic Fangio, right? That's the main player here. So when we take a dive into this article, it says the Bears shed some salary by releasing Eddie Jackson and Cody Whitehair. Jackson, who turned 30 in December, seems like a realistic possibility for the Birds. The 2017 fourth-round pick was drafted when Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio was still the DC of the Bears. They spent 2 seasons in Chicago before Fangio became the Denver head coach. Jackson also overlapped with Eagles assistant special teams coach Joe Panunzio for 2 years at Alabama. Playing for Fangio, Jackson made one of 2 career Pro Bowls, so 2-time Pro Bowl, and his only first-team All-Pro recognition. He had 8 interceptions in the 2 years with Vic Fangio, and then just 7 in his next 5 seasons combined. Now, 30 years old. Is this guy washed? Potentially. Potentially. But at the end of the day, you know, he's playing with a bottom-tier organization. He's playing with the Bears, so maybe he's not as motivated. Maybe he's not playing for as much. Maybe in a better scheme with better playmakers around him, he could do better. Or maybe just having that familiarity, that comfortability factor in Vic Fangio, who obviously is going to prioritize his safeties as well as linebackers in his scheme, you know, maybe he could be a useful piece. Now, it says here later on, his play hasn't fallen off quite as much, although the ball production hasn't been what it was earlier in his career. Like at one time, this guy was one of the top tier safeties and was getting a payday. It says his tackling was never a strong suit, and it didn't fit the mold of Matt Eberflus. Poor tackling has indeed been an issue for Jackson, who is relatively undersized for his position. He actually turned in the worst missed tackle percentage of his career. Now, that is not a language that the Eagles want to speak. They already have their tackling issues of their own. We saw that in display the last 3 weeks of the year. And guys are breaking off huge runs, and you know we're just getting thrown to the wayside. But as it says, if Jackson wasn't flawed, he wouldn't be hitting the open market. But the Eagles may be willing to live with his deficiencies. And maybe you're at a point, right? Sometimes desperation hits. And again, I'm not saying it would have to be some type of long-term thing. If you could get this guy on maybe another prove-it deal, maybe a short-term contract, you know, it could prove to be another body to at least go out there and compete in camp. Now, maybe you're looking at me saying, no, we don't want that at all. We want to go in the younger player direction, right? Start to build this team back up again through the draft. And that I absolutely understand as well. I think that could be another alternate route, but you have to address what your main positions are of need, and whatever players are available, you got to go out and fill those voids. And I think right now, when you look at how this Eagles offseason is stacking up, safety is proven to be one of the top positions that they need to address, and I don't think this would be a terrible decision. Eagles potentially have a need with Kevin Byard widely expected to be a salary cap casualty. So talked about that earlier. Like I said, they may end up moving some deals. Who knows what's going to happen with Bradbury, Slay, etc. There's a lot of guys out there, especially with the way the season ended, that could be, you know, a potential cut. So we'll see how it goes. But as it says, the Eagles would have a surefire short-term starter next to Reed Blankenship. The only other safety the team has under contract is Sidney Brown, recovering from an ACL. So yeah, man, at the end of the day, reunite him with Vic Fangio. I don't think it's a terrible idea. Eagles are going to need more bodies, and why not? Does it hurt? Probably not, and I don't think he's going to get a big payday. So give me your thoughts down below. Does Eddie Jackson make sense for the Philadelphia Eagles? Appreciate everybody tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That being said, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.